How can we solve transportation problems related to crumbling infrastructure, surging congestion, poor air quality, increasing GHG emissions, and declining revenues? One proven approach is to implement a range of mobility pricing strategies, including gas taxes, road tolls, parking fees, and transit fares. Since this is easier said than done, especially in a COVID-altered world, TransportFutures.ca invites you to learn from and with international experts during our online mobility pricing conversations now underway. The third one-hour session, taking place on November 30th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, features Harry Kitchen, Professor Emeritus of Economics at Trent University in Peterborough, Canada. He and Transport Futures founder Martin Collier will discuss whether the gas tax can remain relevant as a transport infrastructure revenue source in the face of inflation, more efficient motor vehicles, and retail politics. They look forward to responding to your questions and comments. Join this cutting-edge conversation, co-sponsored by Daily Commercial News, by registering today at transportfutures.ca/MPC. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Construction Record Podcast. I'm digital media editor Warren Fry, and with me today I have
Lindsay Cole, DCN and JOC editor.
And as per always, as is tradition on Wednesday, we will go through the news. Before we talk what we'll jump to after this, Angela Gismondi, staff writer for the DCN, she interviewed two people from the Irish construction industry who are in Canada to sort of build ties. I'll tell you who they are after we're done. But in the meantime, let's hear those headlines.
Sure. So we have a couple things making news this week, obviously in the DCN and JOC newsroom. Something that we're kind of keeping our eye on is in Windsor. Obviously, there's been hot conversation about the large battery plant that's being built there. Stellantis previously there's questions about whether it was going to build there or not. And obviously it's, happening now and with $15 billion worth of public funding. But the latest news on it is basically there's been some concerns raised over the amount of temporary foreign workers that have been asked to come in to help build it. So because of the amount of money that has been put in from the federal and provincial governments with it, we have the Conservative leader saying that, he wants a full inquiry to find out how many workers the company plans to bring from abroad. And it stems from kind of an interesting, I guess, the power of social media strikes again. There was a post last week by Windsor Police that said that the South Korean ambassador said maybe 1,600 workers from South Korea may come to help build the plant. So obviously that is raising some eyebrows here because, well, do we not have qualified workers here to help build and work at the plant? Do we not have lots of tradespeople who could potentially do the work? And why in these negotiations with these larger companies, the government's not maybe putting clauses to ensure a certain amount of local workers? And conversely to that, there's been speculation and comments that the work that's being carried out is extremely specialized and requires a certain level of expertise. And these workers that are coming in, are used to doing this kind of thing. And in recent developments today, Tuesday, so day before the podcast comes out, there's speculation that not that many workers from abroad would be brought in. So it's not as alarming as first expected. Now that again it's all right now kind of politicians and those involved with the plant commenting. So just kind of an interesting thing for us to follow in the sense that we're dealing with essentially potentially bringing in workers when we might have those who can do so themselves here. So interesting discussion, especially during a time when it's that weird juxtaposition of, yes, we have workers here that can do that plant, but then there's the also the larger discussion of bringing, an immigration reforms, if you will, to bring workers in. So it's a very interesting dilemma, I guess, if you will.
And throw a labor shortage in there as well. So maybe there is some merit to this, bringing people.
There could be, exactly. So we have kind of a interesting debate, I guess, happening on the political sphere with Windsor at the center of it. We also have another groundbreaking decision that's coming from the Supreme Court of Canada that has had a lot of feedback from the construction industry. We'll have a story from Don Well about the more reaction to it, but the initial nuts and bolts, we had John Bleasby cover. He's our legal notes columnist. Basically, it relates to an appeal from a 2021 dispute between the City of Sudbury and the Ontario Ministry of Labour. Sudbury contracted with Interpaving to act as a constructor to repair a downtown water main. Unfortunately, during the repairs, an employee struck and killed a pedestrian who, when he was driving a road grader. The big thing about this case is who was responsible with the safety on site and the quality control and site supervision. And essentially, the City of Sudbury could be held liable. This is a game-changing judgment, because it really muddies the water on who is responsible for site safety, which you'll see in our coverage with some feedback from stakeholders, as well as the decision that was rendered by the Supreme Court. I actually have no idea where this is going to go, but it sets an interesting precedent. It could mean that contracts could be a little bit different going forward, and we really have to evaluate. I think the industry will really have to evaluate responsibility on site when it comes to safety and where that goes. And owners have a whole new ball of wax to consider. So extremely interesting. We've been following this case since it pretty much occurred, because there's been such a large legal back and forth about it. So it was interesting to see the judgment that was rendered. So definitely check out that story. Coming out of the P3 conference, another contentious story that we've been following all throughout is the Ottawa LRT project. Right. Yes. I'm sure we're all very well aware that there was an Ottawa LRT inquiry. Basically, there was a lot of errors with the way the project was rolled out. There was delays, there was overruns, there was all kinds of issues with it. So during the P3 conference, it was a really good panel discussion about the lessons learned. And one of the things I thought was really cool about the comments that were shared is one of the panelists said, quote, "Don't underestimate the scrutiny you'll face." Because in a project of that caliber and that size, it is better to be collaborative with your partners, which I think was a key essence to that panel. Like, the partnership in public-private partnership was lost to some extent in this project, right. But also don't underestimate the scrutiny you will face from the public and the media. And that's not,
the public has to use it, right, for literally a generation or two. So yeah, you're going to get some scrutiny.
For sure. And the moment you put a number out there, be it a completion date or a budget or anything like that, that number becomes your anchor, which was what one of the experts said. And I thought that was really good, because it does, you see the, be a cost overrun number or, for example, a project completion date that doesn't meet that milestone. Well, you've said that now. So essentially it becomes almost set in stone to some extent. So when it's not reached, it's going to be scrutinized. So I think it's important to note that in these large scale projects, change is going to happen, and it's just better to be transparent and accountable about it, and almost just say, we can't guarantee certain elements of things. So this is what we see now and what we can project, but maybe approaching the public and media with a little bit more pragmatic responses would be good. And clarity, yeah, exactly. So I thought it was a really good panel discussion coming out of the P3 conference, which was good. And on the Western side of things, I thought I would highlight, so in Saskatchewan, they're building a very large potash mine. But what's cool about it is, so BHP, who is the main company behind it, they're based in Melbourne, Australia. But what they had set for their local workforce in Saskatchewan was that they wanted to hit a certain gender balance target.
Okay.
So what's cool is women are making up more than 43% of the company's workforce at this potash mine project. So they've actually reached their goal. which I thought was refreshing to see, especially because we know in construction and the mining industries that is not something that's easily hit. Especially, 14%, roughly around 40% of the country's mining sector are women. So
and that's kind of high up there. It isn't high up there.
Yeah,
but
it is.
For the state of affairs we have right now, it is, right? So.
Right. So it's a positive, good news story. We're seeing some gender equality there. It's showing the efforts of inclusivity that we hear about a lot these days. So this is a good example of where maybe some companies could have some lessons learned about how they went about reaching this gender balance, so to speak.
Because it's a huge project, right? So.
Oh, absolutely massive. Yeah. So pretty cool. Kind of switching gears a little bit. BC is looking to, again, help to streamline the housing development process, which, do note we're going to have an awful lot probably on housing in the very near future because we have the federal fiscal update coming up, and we'll have lots of coverage on that. So stay tuned for it. But
as we record, it's about an hour and a half away, but by the time this goes out, it will have happened. So, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, but in the more specific realm of British Columbia, they're planning to do a standardized housing design project. It's basically giving people a template, a customizable design for townhomes, triplexes, laneway houses. Basically saying, hey, here's this. If you want to do a design on this template, it will help you streamline potentially the process and get building houses faster. So kind of an interesting rollout, if you will, of this plan. They've issued an RFP for it because they're looking for a consultant team to help kind of shape it and roll it out officially and everything like that. So it's designed to try to increase housing. I mean, that's just as cut and dry as it gets. So something to note there. See what kind of houses we all see in the future. Are they going to be, what kind of look are they going to have, and where are they going to be, and what will be permitted? So it's kind of an interesting little tidbit for you on the housing file. And that's basically it from me.
Okay, so coming up next from Angela, she interviewed Dara, I hope I say this right, Dara Calleary, Ireland's Minister of State for Trade Promotion, Digital and Company Regulation, and at some point in this interview, Aidan McKenna, Regional Director, Americas for Enterprise Ireland, he also chimes in with a factor too. So if you hear a second Irish voice, that's who that is. So without any further ado, here's that interview.
So can you tell me about the purpose of your visit here today and what you hope to achieve, any goals or messages that you have?
So it's great to be here, and we're thrilled to be meeting up with the Ireland-Canada Construction Network. Obviously, Ireland and Canada, huge tradition going back many, many centuries and many generations. Irish people have come to build here for many generations. So now we're doing something different. We're bringing Irish expertise to assist Canadian construction, to help them meet all the various challenges the construction faces, to help their bottom line. We make no apology for that. Irish innovation is already helping Canadian construction in many ways. What we want is an exchange of ideas. And I'm getting to launch that out this evening. You're going to sense of how we intend to drive this on. Enterprise Ireland and the team here in Toronto are going to build this using technology. Some year to yourselves. It's going to be webinars, it's going to be physical in-person events. It's so cool to see to hear it's a buzzy room of Canadian construction, of Irish construction travelling over. I think we've much more appreciation of those events now after COVID than we have before it. And what I want is, and what Enterprise Ireland are seeking to do, is that we're going to have a network of Canadian and Irish construction leaders in the various different facets of construction, address the shared challenges, the carbon challenges in both our countries. We both have infrastructural challenges. We are both addressing those challenges. And we want to provide Irish skills to assist Canadian business. So Irish skills in high-tech construction, Irish skills in future construction, Irish skills in addressing carbon challenges the construction faces, skills that we're using in Ireland, we can bring them to Canada and assist Canadian construction consists of all those challenges, but also sits bottom line.
Can you tell me a little bit about the state of the construction industry in Ireland and how it's similar and different to that?
So it's I suppose we had a difficult challenge in 2008 to 2012, and Canada won benefit from that challenge because it was a time of chatty economic challenge, particularly construction. But also since 2012, I think Ireland has been home to amazing multinationals, and through their location in Ireland, Irish companies have gained skills in construction, in high-tech construction, that they're now bringing and exporting all over the world. So anywhere I go as trade minister, so I can go to Canada, I can go to Northern Europe, I can go to the Middle East, and Irish construction companies have a base there and have an expertise there that are suited to particular conditions. So be that in high-tech, such as in technology construction, in pharma construction, we've got the skills to do it. We also have this amazing range of innovation. So I pointed out that Enterprise Ireland, that's our state Indigenous investment agency, has about 450 very innovative clients who are exporting right across the world. So Canada should be very familiar with Compulift, which is a company based in a rural part of Ireland, assisting construction and assisting manufacturing companies here with forklift products and other storage and stacking products. Canada is also familiar with cladding, with Kerry Glass. We have in Ireland a range of companies who are cutting edge, and we're bringing those skills or bringing those products all over the globe, including here to Canada.
So how can partnerships, events, and panels like this benefit industries in both countries?
So we share challenges. So obviously construction shares a carbon challenge at the moment. We have very tough targets in Ireland that are equally in place there, that we companies net zero as a country by 2050. But we equally have a housing challenge. So we're about to invest €5 billion. We're investing our budgets in Housing for All, which is our state housing policy. We're going to do 30,000 houses this year, which is the highest amount in about 15 years. And we're increasing that all the time. We've just announced in our 2024 budget the creation of two funds, one an infrastructure fund, and the second a biodiversity and climate fund, so that we can use our current economic success. Ireland is one of the fastest growing economies in the Eurozone at the moment. We're putting money aside so that we'll be continuously investing in infrastructure, even when the inevitable downturn comes, always does. There will be opportunities there for Canadian companies to assist us in that. But secondly, like Canada, we have to make serious changes in relation to our infrastructure and decarbonising infrastructure. We also have to invest in projects that assist biodiversity. We're investing in projects that are going to assist us with the challenge of climate change. So for instance, we're going to be investing in major flood relief projects. We are putting a project fund in place that we will have the capacity to do that. We will have the capital funds to do that, no matter what economic challenge we get hit with. We want to bring to Canada our experiences of cutting edge construction. So Enterprise Ireland have a unit that is looking at cutting edge construction, modern construction techniques, low carbon construction techniques. We're working with companies who are looking at low carbon construction products. We are working with companies that are innovating in products that maximize spouts. That you heard about some of the products here this evening that use technology to make construction easier. They use technology to make construction managers' job easier. They use technology to manage sites better. And Irish companies can do that.
So how would you like to see this relationship grow in the future? Do you have any other trips or events planned?
So, I think Canada probably gets about 3 or 4 ministerial trips every year in terms of Ireland. We've Enterprise Ireland, they're based here in Toronto. We've just, we have as a government, a global footprint ambition project. We've just opened a consulate, full-time consulate here in Toronto. We have a full-time consulate in Vancouver, in addition to our full-time embassy in Ottawa. So we're increasing our footprint, our diplomatic footprint across Canada. And what that does then, we use our existing resources, but 18 leads out in North America and Canada. So we've an Enterprise Ireland team based here in Toronto, also an Enterprise Ireland team based in Montreal. We will use those resources to identify opportunities for Irish companies coming in. We will build on the existing track record of Irish companies who are here in Canada, and we will have share events. We share web events, webinars on particular topics that we can learn from each other on as two countries. We also use the existing, networks that are here. And then events like the city, networking, people can meet up, see projects and products in action. And also, the great word of mouth, that Irish products and Irish companies are basing sales teams here to sell the word of the success and the capacity of their products. So we want to work with Canadian construction. We want to work with Canadian business generally. We want maybe to challenge, to use technology in a way that we're very familiar with. Ireland is the 5th most digitally advanced economy in the European Union. So we're very comfortable with technology. We could bring that comfort and that experience maybe to enhance the business experience of construction and government.
Sounds good. Just a follow-up question. Do you have like a list of the companies that are in partnership? Are they on?
So that's a good list there. Like we have Flexology, we heard all about Flexology.
Yes. We have a sample of companies here that are based here and active in the market. We have 300 clients that are actively exporting to Canada. Out of a client, probably base of 4,500. Of those 300 clients, the exports to the Canadian market are just under 2.8 billion. And that represented actually a growth in the last 3 years of 25%. So the Canadian market is a key priority growing market for Irish and Indigenous businesses, as the Minister said. They're looking at the opportunities here. The Siemens event was very much around focusing on Connect Irish innovation. We have shared problems, we have shared opportunities, and it's fantastic that a networking event like this and this network that we formalised here in Seattle with the Minister's support taps into those opportunities, allows companies to investigate the common challenges, bring solutions to them. And as the Minister said, if we can take some of those ideas back to Ireland, I think we would really appreciate that as well. So I think there's a growing opportunity for Indigenous companies here. What they can mention is Fax Manager, Dugan Systems, Kerry, Dino Glass. We have that are working actively with companies that in construction, actively working with the green infrastructure partners that you heard on the panel there this evening. And they're, after we endorsing Irish businesses because they're Irish, they're actually endorsing those businesses because they're solving real problems.
I think that's one of the lines really for me of the evening. I think Noel said it, it's not sentiment. Business doesn't do sentiment, and it shouldn't. But yeah, Ireland is one of the most successful economies in the world. We have an amazing diaspora all over the world. We don't do sentiment. We do what's good for business and what's good for return. And Irish construction experience and Irish products are good for Canadian construction and good for Canadian return.
And that's it for this episode of the Construction Record Podcast. You can listen to us on Amazon Music, Apple Music, and Spotify, as well as on the Daily Commercial News and Journal of Commerce websites. Thanks for listening.